Napoli fans around the world, welcome to Napoli Talk. I'm gonna leave these pictures here for a few seconds before I reveal myself. Let me ask you a question. How many men do you think Bologna had on the field by the end of the game? If you were to ask any person that has been following football for more than 2 minutes, you would say nine. These are two very, very clear red cards. Um, Guess what happened, guys? Guess what happened? On one of these, Bologna got the free kick and they scored from it. So very difficult for me to assess the game tactically and the players' performances when you have such a clear refereeing mistake. Guys, I really hope it's a mistake. Honestly, I really hope that it's a mistake, that it's individual errors, that it's a referee that was having a bad day, because otherwise the consequences of this not being a mistake is that this is something that is, if not match fixing, very, very close to it. And this isn't a coincidence that it's happened now, maybe for 3, 4 games in a row in the Serie A since we've beat Inter and Marotta came on from Inter's side to say a few words about the referees. And ever since that has happened, ever since someone who is part owner of the club, Marotta, someone who we know has influence over Italian football, first with Juve, then with Inter, ever since he's been getting involved in the press and he's been having his voice heard, we've been having a series of penalties against us. We've now gone through this game where I don't understand how Bologna didn't get one red card, let alone two. To make matters worse, that out of this tackle, Napoli conceded a goal. Not just because the referee didn't blow his whistle, but because he gave the free kick to Bologna. It doesn't make sense. Guys, I'll put the pictures back up. How do you give a free kick to Napoli in a situation like this? This is a killer tackle on the left. High foot, not just one, but two, completely uncontrolled. And somehow that results in a Bologna free kick. Where is the VAR, guys? Where is the VAR? Look, you guys know that I don't like to talk about referees. I never do. I'm the first to criticize Napoli when we lose. But guys, today is too much. I'm sorry, but today is too much, and we have to raise our voices against these injustices. We have to. We have to, because otherwise, if we don't do it for ourselves, guys, nobody else will for us. Nobody will for us. And and it makes it very difficult, guys, to comment about anything else in the game, to comment about how bad Politano was playing, to comment about Conte's tactics. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant once you have a game that's no longer 11v11, but you have 12v11, then there's nothing else to talk about, guys. There's nothing else to talk about. We can talk about, yeah, the build-up needs to improve, fine. But if every time that you get the ball and Hoyland is just holding off a defender, they pull their hands up to their face and roll on the ground, guys, I'm sorry, but there's nothing you can do. There's just nothing that you can do against that at that point. And this is the issue with Conte's play, though, right? Because here's the thing. Let's go straight into the analysis of the game, guys. And obviously I start here, even though it's not in chronological order with these two tackles, right? Let's go into the analysis of the game, guys, because this is how Conte has set up his game. Long ball to Hoyland, okay? Now, there's nothing wrong with this. It's not the type of football that we like to see here in Naples. We're a club that we've had the likes of Maradona. We like to play this nice football, and we leave the striped clubs of Juve, Inter, and Milan play the dirty football, right? It's always been like that for the last 50 years. They get wins playing these kind of like route one football, hit it long to your striker. It doesn't matter how we win as long as we win. Whereas, clubs like Napoli, Roma, we win less titles, but we try to go for a bit nicer football. Okay, that's the DNA of these clubs, right? Now, when you change that DNA and you start playing this type of football, just passing it forward to the attacker, because we get a guy like Conte, a guy that's been at Juventus all his life, that plays like this. Part of this type of football is relying on the striker either passing the ball to a teammate, turning, or getting a foul. And in most cases, guys, in most cases, you will get a foul here. You have a defender all over you. You get the foul, and the team gains 30, 40 meters. Okay, this is how Conte's teams plays. Okay, you have a striker there, and he gets the foul. Now, what happens when the system is broken? Like today, guys, what happens is that the referee no longer gives you a foul here. In fact, the referee doesn't even give you a foul there. This is again on Hoyland. Instead, what the referee will do is that they will look at any tiny reaction that you have, any hand that you put on a defender that is even close to even being near the face of the defender. They will call that a foul. They won't call this a foul. They won't call a defender bear hugging you from the back a foul, but they will call just about anything that you do to a defender a foul. Guys, this works when you play for Milan, this works when you play for Inter, this works when you play for Juve. When you have a striped t-shirt, guess who else has a striped t-shirt here? Bologna. Not that they matter, right? But you guys know what I mean. If you try to play this type of game and you are Napoli and you are Roma and you are Lazio and you are Fiorentina, forget it. Forget it. You are not powerful enough. You are not powerful enough in the Italian system to get away with this. This is a type of football that requires referees, I'm not saying to be on your side, but to at least be objective. It requires referees to at least be objective. Where when there is a free kick, they call a free kick. And so you can play. You can play this type of football where you have um, the striker trying to win fouls. But if the system is against you, and it very clearly is over the last 3 or 4 games ever since we beat Inter, if the system is against you, you cannot play this style of play. And that's where the genius of Sarri and Spalletti came in a few years ago, right? Where they said, guys, we are Napoli. We're never going to get the referees on our side. So you know what we're going to do? We're going to play a style of football that doesn't revolve around the traditional Italian way to win games. We are going to rely on a style of football that is modern, that is, let's say, tiki-taka. We have the ball. We have the ball and we pass it as soon as we get it. We don't even let the opposition get near us. Why? Because if they get near us and they tackle us, the referee might not call that tackle. So what we're going to do is we're going to make these nice passes so fast, so tight, in a way that the other team can't even get near us. And we're going to walk the ball to the goal and we're going to score. And we're going to play beautiful football. We're going to play beautiful football like that. That's the only way you can really win. Last year with Conte, somehow the miracle happened that we were playing that type of football that Conte wants, the one that we played today, and somehow we managed to sneak through because guess what? Inter kind of threw it away for us. Inter was supposed to win last year, but if they fall short, then guys, what can you do, right? But we had to fight last year also quite a few injustices. What I'm trying to say, guys, is that today we lost because of the referee. But if Conte doesn't change the way that he plays, if he doesn't realize that this isn't Juventus or this isn't Inter when he was at Inter, if he doesn't realize that he's coaching Napoli and that we don't have the referees on our side ever, if he doesn't realize that this style of play is not going to work because it relies too much on having at least objective referees, which is something that just isn't going to be the case. You might have it in a few games. But when you make too much noise, when you start beating Inter, when you win a Scudetto, and then you're going to win a second one, they're not going to let you do it. They are not going to let you do it. So, guys, this is the problem that we have at the moment. That we need to change the way that we play because the referees are just not going to get away with long balls to Hoyland. They will penalize the guy. And also because he's a little bit too inexperienced compared to Lukaku. You see, at least Lukaku, when we tried this last year, he's an experienced player. He knows how to position his hands, his arms, his body in such a way that the referee literally cannot call a foul against him. There is not even a 1% chance. With Hoyland, he's still learning his trade. Sometimes his hand will be a little bit too high up, above the neck. That's a foul. Even if you don't touch the face of the opposition, the referee now is entitled to give a foul. So, guys, we've got to change. I'm sorry, but if we want to get anywhere, if we want to get anywhere, we have to change our style of play because guess what? We're not going to be able to change the system. All right? We're not all of a sudden going to have stripes on our t-shirt. We're not going to be Milan. We're not going to be Inter. We're not going to be Juventus. The referees just simply do not care about our interests. The Serie A does not want Napoli to win one more time. It was great when we did it the first time. The news was talking about it. All of a sudden, Serie A was in the news outlets everywhere. Wow, there's a new team coming through. Great. They actually didn't mind us winning at one point. They realized, I mean, they put their foot on us for 30 years. They relegated us to third division with 10% of the debt that Inter has and had. And then they realized as we were winning the Scudetto, oh, this is actually creating quite nice hype. Let's give them this Scudetto. But also because Spalletti's style of play didn't allow anybody to get near us. It didn't allow for teams to potentially get penalties. It didn't allow for these type of 50-50 calls because we were just too superior. The way that we were playing, we were too fast, too quick, too good, too technical. And these things, it's nice when it happens once, right? But Serie A is making very sure that we don't enter an era of Napoli dominance. They do not want that. It's good for us to have our day, but they don't want us to ever be considered a giant like Milan, Inter, or Juve. Especially when you have Inter with 300 million euros in debt. Especially when you have Juventus that has 3 coaches on their payroll and they just drop points on the weekend. When Milan has a fancy new American owner, no, no, no. We cannot win this Serie A, guys. It's the Serie A will not let us do it. It will not let us do it. Um, Jacksu here, I'm seeing the comments, is a little bit perplexed at some of this, which maybe this deserves a second video, right? But maybe we don't know all. Maybe not everybody here in the comment sections knows all the dirty things that Juventus, for example, has pulled over the last 25 years, or all the interests that the Serie A has with Inter winning, because financially they are in a very precarious position. Or the fact that Milan has American owners and that this could open up the floodgates for the Serie A to get more fans in the US, which is a huge market that the Serie A is interested in for their commercial rights. These clubs at some point need to start winning. And Napoli is getting in their way. And look, if there's a referee that they can put that can stop this from happening, they'll do it. They'll do it because, again, it's nice to have Napoli win once in a while. It brings some news, it brings a little bit of a spotlight that something different's happening in the Serie A. But they definitely don't want us to go on 3 out of 4 Scudettis. That would be too much. That's too much revenue loss to the other clubs. So, guys, look, it's 15 minutes now that I've been ranting about the referees. I've said what I had to say. I will, however, also speak about how bad we've played, right? I mean, first of all, guys, Bologna had a 17-year-old goalkeeper come on the 7th minute, and we were not able, and which by the way is equivalent to the 3rd minute because there was 4 minutes of time wasting here. So the referee gave 5 minutes extra time at the end of the first half, rightly so, right? But essentially means that Pessina did 88 minutes or close to 90, probably 90 of effective play. And this guy's 17 years old, making his debut. And not once did we say to ourselves, why don't we test this goalkeeper? Why don't we shoot a little bit from range? Why don't we press this guy? Not once, guys, did we do this. So, look, I get it, the referees and all that, and we don't want to speak about it. Fine, fine. And those people are right to some extent. But there's also a lot of blame on our side, right? There's also things that we could have done better, and this was definitely one of them. Then let's see, the fact that our own players were not able to ever be in a passing position whenever we did make these long passes to Højlund, right? At some point, it has to become very clear to the Napoli players that the referee is not going to give a foul to Højlund, no matter how bad these Bologna players are on his shoulders. They're not going to give a foul. So what we have to do is we have to give Højlund options to lay the ball to. You receive the ball, you lay it off, right? That's what we have to do. But there was never a Napoli player in the 90 minutes of today that realized this and came closer to Højlund so that he could just flick the ball on. So that even if there is a foul from the Bologna player, maybe you can still manage to get a pass on your first touch and set one of the Napoli players through. But no, we were always, always, always so far behind the Bologna player. So it means that we left Højlund to struggle and wrestle for 5 seconds at a time every time. and he was not going to win that fight. So, look, we're already on the 9th minute of the game here in the analysis, and there's already two huge mistakes in the approach that Napoli had. Right, this was the only shot that we had essentially in the first half. Then let's get to Politano, guys, because someone here, Joe Pucci, is saying there's no off-ball movement. The entire team is ball watching. I disagree. I'm sorry, I disagree. Because Hoyland was making run after run after run. Anguissa was making runs. Everybody was making runs today. Gutierrez was making runs. The problem wasn't that we were ball watching or there wasn't off-ball movement. It's that Politano never, never picked the right pass. Here, he could have gone to his left foot and, you know, passed it into the path of Hoyland. He doesn't do that. He wastes a few seconds. Now Hoyland's making another type of run, and Politano doesn't serve him. Instead, he keeps the ball. Then Politano here, he's in his own side of the field, and instead of passing it to one of his teammates, he's got, I think, Rachmani on his left. He's got Anguissa in front of him. He can do a nice triangle here and there. And instead of doing that, he decides to dribble and loses the ball, and we risk conceding a goal. And look, Politano's good for one thing, right? He's good for providing solidity at the back. We know he's not going to be, doing that number 10 position where he's going to do that killer pass. We know he's not going to score. He's got 3 goals or assists in the last like 50 games, right? We know that from a offensive point of view, this winger is not going to give us much. But you'd at least then expect that he gives you solidity at the back. And when you try to dribble the ball there and you put your team under this much pressure, I don't care if it's the 10th minute of the game. I am subbing you off if I'm Antonio Conte. At this point, you do not deserve to be on the field. Because if you're going to not give us anything going forward and you're going to make our life harder defensively, I'm sorry, but there's no space for you here. And this is especially frustrating because this week there were a lot of news agencies and reports about how Conte might bench Politano. Finally, that Elmas has convinced Conte to win a starting position, and in fact he did. But instead of putting Neres on the right, we are stuck with Politano, right? So people are coming into the team, and instead of taking off Politano, it's someone else that's making way. But this performance from Politano, guys, was just shocking. Was just shocking, right? But it was a little bit everyone, right? That we didn't approach the game in the right way, because look at this moment here when one of the Bologna players has the ball, Anguissa's in front of him, okay? And 1 second later, Anguissa's behind him. Free shot for this Bologna player, nobody in his way, and thankfully Milinkovic-Savic is able to make a save, which is not easy because the ball's bouncing right in front of him, right? So we have all sorts of players that are just not putting in the right amount of effort in today's game. This is another example here where Politano, he passes the ball back to Di Lorenzo, who's looking forward. He's scanning the field, and instead of thinking, you know what, let me just ping this ball to Mctominay, because he's got acres of space on the other side. Instead of doing that, he decides to play the ball backwards. I mean, guys, where are we gonna go from here if our own captain is not able to take responsibility and ping a ball 30 meters forward? And some of you might say, well, he doesn't have the capacity to do that. What do you mean he doesn't have the capacity? Is he not earning 3 million a year? Was this not on his stronger right foot? Did he not have time and space to do this? Guys, this is a very simple pass. It's a very simple pass. You don't even have to be that accurate because McTominay was in loads of space. It's not about getting the perfect pass here. This is about just booting it to the other side of the field. Even if it goes long, it's fine. McTominay can run towards it, but at least you start a counterattack this way. You try something, but everybody just had their leg, pulled back a little bit. Nobody wanted to find that killer pass. And we have to get these players back into a state of mind where they are looking forward and they are taking risks, because otherwise we're not going to get anywhere by passing the ball backwards like this. This is another example, guys. Anguissa passes the ball to Politano. Okay, he starts making a run. At this point, he's beaten his man. He's in front of his man. Politano can just play the ball long into the space, and instead he stops and passes it back to Di Lorenzo. Why? Why are we doing this, guys? Why is it that every time that someone's making a run, we don't have the courage to play him into space? So, look, guys, this is the problem with the game. Then you guys know what happened, right? Let me put the images back up. There was this moment in the game where Bologna should have gotten a red card with the tackle on the left. The ref didn't give the foul, didn't give the red card. Instead, he gave a foul to Bologna and they scored from the free kick. Then Orsolini, again, red card offense to Gutierrez, nothing. No VAR, no nothing. Absolutely nothing. And look, guys, I mean, then the game is ruined. The game then it is ruined, and we can then try to analyze the second half. But honestly, if you've been on a football field before, you will know that it's impossible to play in a lucid way when you've received such an injustice. This is an injustice of the highest degree, and this is not even counting all the yellow cards that he gave out to the Napoli players, including Højlund, including Lang, for things that were really not supposed to get yellow cards. So, look, I'm not gonna sit here and criticize Napoli's second half performance and how they conceded 2 goals and they could have defended better or they should have done better. I'm just not, because for me, the game ended in the first half. The legitimate game of football ended in the first half. In the second half, it's a different sport. Guys, it's rugby. It's rugby, it's I don't know what, it's it's not football. Like it says in the title of this video, guys, this isn't football, and I refuse to comment on the second half on a football perspective. If we want, we can talk about the referee and how he ruined the game. But I am not talking about player performances, or he didn't pass the ball there, or Conte should have done whatever type of sub, because, guys, we were not playing football at this point. I'm sorry. And I'm the first to criticize Napoli players like I did in their first half performance, but at least there we were playing the same sport. We were playing a sport that we all love and understand. In the second half, guys, I'm sorry, but this cannot be accepted. And we shouldn't fall into the trap of saying, yeah, but we need to put more movement. Yeah, we need to do a bit of this. No, no, guys, doesn't matter. At that point, it doesn't matter. You can do all the movement in the world, but once you receive an injustice of the magnitude that Napoli received in the second half, I'm sorry, but uh, the players' minds must have been completely somewhere else, and rightly so. So so yeah, the Noah Lang yellow card was absolutely shocking. The guy doesn't touch anybody and he gets a yellow card. Um, but yeah. Ah, man, guys, I haven't been this worked up after a game of football, maybe in years, maybe in years, because it's now 4 games in a row. It's now 4 games in a row. So what's the solution, guys? As I said earlier on, the solution here is that we have to change our style of play. We cannot play a type of football that relies on one against one, man on man scenarios because referees will not give us those type of fouls. So we need to start playing more fluid football. Okay? If if the system doesn't allow us to play one way, we have to go in the Spalletti Sarri type of way. Let this be a lesson for Conte and for De Laurentiis. I hope they understand this. And that's just the sad reality of Italian football. It's a sad reality of a football that had 3 out of 4 games yesterday with 0-0, or maybe one of them was 1-0, that nobody wants to watch. But part of the reason why some of these games are 0-0 is because referees are just killing any type of fluidity in the game. They're calling bad fouls, they're calling fouls when they shouldn't do. They are very obviously favoring at times one team over another for whatever type of interests. And I wouldn't be surprised in a few years if something really big comes out of this because it's massive, guys. Guys, what happened today is massive. It's to the same degree of what happened in that Inter Juventus game all the way back when Sarri was with us and we were fighting for the title and and they lost. Guys, they lost 5 minutes of audio recording from the VAR. They had 85 minutes of audio recording and they don't have it from minute 84 to 89. Guys, the audio file went to the Italian justice system with 5 minutes missing. Like, I'm sorry, but what are we talking about here? There was someone earlier in the comment section, saying that like that I shouldn't be talking about the referees like this, but when you have a league that has a history of match fixing, that has missing audio files in exactly the minutes where the issue happened, what are we talking about? What are we talking about anymore? How can you objectively say that you don't have even a 1% inkling that something again is happening? So guys, look, that's my analysis of the game. I'm not gonna put player ratings, just because honestly, I cannot evaluate the players today. I cannot evaluate the players today. Um, Conte hasn't come out and said anything yet, and honestly, maybe that will deserve a video in and of itself, depending on whatever Conte says, or rather, what he might not say, because I hope that Conte comes out in today's press conference together with Giovanni Manna, together maybe with De Laurentiis, and they make themselves heard. And if they don't, then we also have a problem because we need to make sure that we keep insisting, guys. We cannot let the system keep us quiet because I I I I bet that if any neutral is watching or was watching today's game, they would have been horrified at what they were seeing. Um, and I'm sure Inter and Juve and Milan fans they will agree. I mean, if any of them say anything other than this was a disgrace, then you know that they're not objective. So, anyways, guys, we will end it there. Um, the fact that I don't put player ratings today means Politano is uh, is saved from a 2 out of 10 scoring that is put down officially. But yeah, look, guys, horrible product to watch as a neutral. Horrible game. If you're a Napoli fan, potentially this is a message to us from the league that we are done. We've had our moment of fun, but we're done. They won't let us go far. So look, let's just focus our attention on the Champions League. Maybe there we'll have a bit more a bit more neutrality, even though honestly we've always been on the wrong end of 50-50s there as well, because there then you start playing against the likes of Real Madrid and Bayern and Man City and Liverpool and all these type of teams that there's interest to let them do well. So when they play against the likes of a smaller team like us, you have the same issue like we have here in Italy when we're up against Inter, Juve, and Milan, who have their fingers all over Italian politics, and and media and so on. So look, guys, it is what it is. One day, 50 years down the line, when we are old, we will look back at the 2 years that we won the Scudetto as a great time in our lives, because I have a feeling that they're not gonna make us win that much more. It'll be a rare sight, I think. We've had our fun, and now it's time to let the big boys get their food again. So yeah, look, guys, it is what it is. No, um, but anyways, we continue. We keep supporting Napoli because in the end, that's what we have to do, right? I'll be at the Napoli Atalanta game, not next week because we have international break, but the one after. And yeah, guys, I mean, football is just interest, and sometimes it goes your way and sometimes it doesn't. Like now we have international football, right? And this is a moment where things could potentially go, let's say, my way, and I'm happy to admit it. FIFA is thinking about changing the way that they put teams in the World Cup groups just so that Italy gets put with the other big teams, right? They want to basically, because before, any team that had to go through the playoffs was going to be in the fourth group, in the fourth pot. And now there's rumors that teams are going to be placed in pots based on their rankings, which would put Italy from fourth to first. Why? Because FIFA president is Gianni Infantino, an Italian Inter fan. This is also important, Inter fan. Okay, let's connect some dots. Um, but obviously, there's interest to have Italy in Group One, even if the guy wasn't Italian. Why? Because there's interest in having Italy go through a more easy group so that they can go further in the competition. Why? Because FIFA needs it, because football needs it, because football wants to have the best teams winning, the ones with the biggest fan bases. They can sell more shirts that way, yada yada yada. Okay? It's interest. And sometimes it goes our way. As an Italian, if this rumor is true, I hold my hands up and I say, look, it went our way. It's disgusting. That's the way it is, but I'm happy to admit it. Likewise, here, we are the fourth team in Italy, and things are not going our way. Or they sometimes cannot go our way, right? They let us have our fun twice, and now they're telling us to go back to where we belong according to them. Anyways, guys. Anyways, Joe Pucci says, thanks for reminding me that I have to watch Italy now. Yeah, as if watching Napoli games recently isn't enough of a punishment. Now we have to also go through the pain of watching Italy as well. And yeah, that's never fun in recent times. So guys, look, it's a shame. Sorry that our Sunday went like this. But hopefully, look, other teams like Milan, Inter, and Juve can continue to drop points, because look, in the end they dropped points yesterday, Milan and Juve, because as much as they can try to pull us down and try to support the other teams, in the end, sometimes the football goes in a direction that you just cannot control, right? If the other team scores a perfectly valid goal, the referee cannot do anything about it, and so it still gives us a little bit of hope. Inter play against Lazio, who are a team that have stopped Inter before in the past. So look, guys, maybe it's not over, but a very clear message was sent out today. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm gonna close it here. Sorry for the rant. It's not the usual calm and collected version of me, but I felt like this was necessary today. Anyways, guys, with that, I'm out. And as always, Forza Napoli sempre. Ciao.